So how did I first find out about storage? Well, I was vaguely aware of storage in the early 1990s. I was practicing law at the time and moved into property development. My family had a property site out in Western Brisbane that we were trying to work out what to do with, and my wife actually suggested storage, to which I prophetically and with great vision replied, "That's a stupid idea, that'll never work." 6 months later we had plans to build a storage centre and was very successful, and as they say, the rest was history. So just speaking about the first facility we built, it was on the Ipswich motorway at Oxley, and unbeknown to us it had some key characteristics for a successful centre. So firstly, there were no centres within a 5k radius. It had great exposure to passing traffic. It had challenging access, but that was overcome by the excellent exposure and signage, and within a short period of time it was operating at stabilised level of the first stage. We built the second stage and expanded from there, so it was a great learning curve for us. I became aware of the SelfStorage Association when we were researching to build that first centre, and it was very early days. Met some interesting people in it. It was not a very proactive body back in those days. I remember attending my first conference in about 1996. There was a proliferation of moo-moos, and I think the odd safari suit still got an outing, so you could argue not much has changed, but practically a very friendly group of people who were very much like me, just finding their way in a new industry. That was really my recollection. So my association today with self-storage, we run the largest and only sector-specific listed self-storage REIT in Australia and New Zealand. That means it's a very outward, my role is a very outward-facing role. Having listed, we undertook an IPO in 2013, so having a listed business is a very different experience to working in the private sector. So my relationship I guess with the association is relatively peripheral, but my relationship with the many investors, retail and institutional, we have around the country and around the world is much more intensive, and obviously requires a lot of travel and a lot of, for the want of a better word, spruiking of the benefits of storage as a product and a service, and the benefits of investing in storage as a institutional investment option when there are so many other alternative options available for people to invest their money. The biggest challenge in the industry for us has been constantly wanting to evolve our business. So as we've grown our business, we've relied on our own capital resources, but also external resources. So we've always undertaken business ventures with joint venture partners and then with the public markets. So what that means is that all of your stakeholders require a lot of education about storage as an asset class. So that's included everyone from banks to institutional investors to private investors in our JVs and so forth. So that's really been a challenging process. And if you look at when we IPO'd the business in 2013, the lack of knowledge about storage as an asset class, because it really wasn't an institutionalised asset class in this country, was amazing. And people would say to me, so, okay, storage, how long's the weighted average lease term? And you'd say, a month? And they'd go, a month? Well, what sort of an investment is that? That's a terrible investment. But a lot of people, institutional investors in particular, didn't understand the underlying qualities that made storage such a resilient and attractive investment product, as opposed to today when it's becoming a much more accepted and sought after investment. Look, single greatest benefit for us from the Storage Association membership has been the people we've met. So I wouldn't have come across many people who I now consider to be close friends in the industry, and they include people like Alan Contini, who we've worked with for the last 20 odd years in various capacities, Ian Holland, Chandra is a dear friend. The Olivers, Ian and Tina Oliver, again, I count them as good personal friends. Then, many overseas relationships, such as Don Daniels, who unfortunately has passed away, but he was one of the founders of the Shoreguard business in the US. Ken Knightsberg, who runs a multi-center operation out of California in the US, Joe Russell of PSA, and many others. So it's been a very rich quality of association that has immeasurably enhanced my relationships and friendships across a wide variety of sectors. And that's the thing about storage. Typically the people you meet in storage are highly entrepreneurial, idiosyncratic, interesting people who typically aren't in storage because that's where they started. They're in storage because that's where they finished. So they've got this rich vein of other experiences in other industries, having done other things, and then very much like myself and my wife, have fallen into storage and discovered it and found it to be incredibly satisfying and interesting as a business. Okay, so in terms of a good story that our members would love to hear, as many of you would readily understand, most of the stories that I could tell are probably not for G-rated audiences, because some involve various forms of illegality that have been uncovered in the course of running our centres. So we have discovered brothels in storage centres, for example. But probably one of the more amusing from my perspective was a group of elderly gentlemen who for many years have rented storage units at one of our centres in Melbourne, and regularly on a Saturday they'd turn up. There's 4 of them, they have 4 individual units. They'd turn up in golfing attire and they walk into their units, and about 5 minutes later they come out in full motorcycle leathers pushing their Harleys, and then they go off and ride Harleys for the day, come back, put the Harleys back into the units, change back into their golfing attire and return home and tell their wives that they've had a wonderful day of golfing, because their wives don't like them running motorcycles. So I guess what it comes down to is many people use them for hobbies, but also we have some interesting secrets that occur behind storage units, hopefully all legal.